That night, Jack asked me, "Are you happy?" I never thought such a simple question would shake me so deeply. I truly didn't know if I was happy. But the silence that followed his question made me feel that everything had already changed. What I'm about to tell you will show you how that question turned my whole life upside down. When I married Mark, I believed the dreams we built together would last forever. For the first few years, everything was just as I had imagined. We had a beautiful home, a sweet family, and from the outside, we looked like we had a perfect life, but that image was hiding the truth. Mark's workload had increased. At first, I tried to be understanding, even thinking that his hard work was for our future. But over time, I realized I wasn't a priority for him anymore. When he came home exhausted from work, he would barely say a few words to me, and often took refuge in alcohol. Alcohol had become Mark's escape while he was escaping. I was drowning in loneliness. Mark no longer touched me. I started questioning my worth as a woman. I kept asking myself, where did I go wrong? I found myself drowning in deep loneliness. I began to feel so terrible that I couldn't even breathe. At that point, I realized I needed someone to share this loneliness with. And that person turned out to be Jack. Meeting Jack was completely coincidental. One night, while browsing the internet, I entered a support forum. I just wanted to talk to a stranger. And that's when Jack's message appeared. "Hello, I want you to know you're not alone." That sentence created a warmth inside me. At first, I didn't want to reply to him, but I thought talking would make me feel better. Just talking and being able to breathe led me to start a conversation with him. No one had comforted me in such a simple yet heartfelt way in a long time. Jack was also struggling in his marriage. He too had lost the bond with his wife and was living a lonely life. At first, our conversations were quite ordinary. We talked about our children, work, and daily life. But over time, our conversations became deeper. Jack started asking me questions. "Are you truly happy?" or "What do you want?" These questions brought out emotions I had buried for so long. I began to feel a renewed zest for life. I started feeling like a woman again. My body was almost trembling with excitement, and I felt butterflies in my stomach. I began to desire him like crazy. Jack saw me. Truly, I felt valued when I was with him. Everything Mark had ignored for years came alive again in Jack's words. My conversations with Jack became the center of my life. I would check my phone as soon as I woke up in the morning to see his messages. Throughout the day, I constantly thought about the things he said. He gave me everything I needed: attention, love, and understanding. One day when he said, "I want to see you," his proposal both thrilled and terrified me. I was so excited to meet him. How would that moment go? How should I act toward him? How would he act toward me? While thinking about these, I couldn't suppress the feminine feelings bubbling up inside me. On the day of the meeting, I couldn't sit still from excitement. When I saw him at the cafe for the first time, the warmth in his eyes erased all my fears. We talked for hours. But the tension beneath our conversations hinted that everything was about to become much deeper. When we left the cafe and got into his car, the atmosphere completely changed. We were sitting in silence, but the silence was so intense that words were unnecessary. Jack moved closer to me, our eyes met, and at that moment I forgot the whole world. When our lips touched, a passion I hadn't felt in years awoke inside me. His hands moving across my skin brought out feelings I had suppressed for so long. In the car, I couldn't pull my lips away from his for hours. Unable to hold back any longer, we decided to find a place to be together. That night, in a hotel room, Jack and I shared hours of passionate moments. As soon as we entered the room, he tore off my clothes. Throwing me against the walls, he brought me to the peak of womanhood that I hadn't felt in years. His touch made me feel like a woman again. But this wasn't just a physical connection. Jack was touching my soul. He was taking me on a dream tour of pleasure. After that night, nothing was the same. Jack had become an indispensable part of my life. I couldn't stop desiring him. I kept making excuses to meet him. Being with him, experiencing physical and emotional pleasure, I couldn't stop myself anymore. I felt like I couldn't breathe without him. With each meeting, we bonded even more. With each meeting, our fantasies became wilder and more thrilling. Jack and I didn't just meet in hotel rooms, we met in park corners, bar restrooms, on the beach, and in hidden places. Being with him felt like forgetting the whole world. But behind this happiness, the guilt never left us alone. One day, Jack said, "I wish I had met you earlier." These words made me both happy and deeply sad, because we both knew this relationship would have an end. This relationship, with all its excitement, pleasures, and fears, lasted for months. One day, Jack said, "We can't do this anymore." The pain in his eyes shattered me. But he was right. This relationship was slowly destroying us. Our children, our spouses, and the chaos created by this forbidden love were leading our lives to a dead end. That day we said goodbye to Jack. When I got into his car, knowing we would never see each other again broke my heart. After that, I cried for days. Every time I checked my phone, I hoped for a message from Jack. But that message never came. Living without him felt like losing a part of myself. But there was another truth: this relationship was ruining us. I knew this. Still, forgetting him was impossible. I couldn't stop thinking about him. I didn't know what to do. I felt so helpless. Today, I still think about Jack. It's true that I loved and desired him, but I have to accept that everything we experienced was wrong. Even so, in those moments I felt alive. Now I ask you, if you can't find the love you need in a relationship, is it wrong to look elsewhere? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening to my story. That night, Jack asked me, "Are you happy?" I never thought such a simple question would shake me so deeply. I truly didn't know if I was happy. But the silence that followed his question made me feel that everything had already changed. What I'm about to tell you will show you how that question turned my whole life upside down. When I married Mark, I believed the dreams we built together would last forever. For the first few years, everything was just as I had imagined. We had a beautiful home, a sweet family, and from the outside, we looked like we had a perfect life. But that image was hiding the truth. Mark's workload had increased. At first, I tried to be understanding, even thinking that his hard work was for our future. But over time, I realized I wasn't a priority for him anymore. When he came home exhausted from work, he would barely say a few words to me, and often took refuge in alcohol. Alcohol had become Mark's escape. While he was escaping,